Hello everyone, and welcome to my cereal review. I'm Drew, and today we're going to be talking about another one of the classic cereals, and that is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This is produced by General Mills in 1984, so that makes it actually one of the more recent, younger cereals among what I consider to be the classics. Um, I think most of that honestly has to do with the fact that later, when people started coming up with the new cereals, it was just easier to put the budget towards um, established brands. You could why make a whole new cereal that you have to come up with advertising for when you could just make Frozen 2 cereal or the new Star Wars cereal. So that's more the direction that new cereals have gone. Um, but yeah, let's open this up and we can talk a bit more about it. And now you'll notice that I've added a new feature for everyone, which is the cereal bowl cam. Let's pour that in there. There we go. Looks great. So yeah, if you look in here, what we've got are actually, these are primarily wheat squares, but it's actually a combination of wheat and rice, which is what gives them their sort of crackling sound and milk, kind of comparable to Rice Krispie treats, or Rice Krispies. They put a little bit of rice in it and it gives it that crunch, that makes it Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So let's get a little bit of milk on there too. And you'll notice that the squares on there also have kind of a swirling pattern. That's not from the cinnamon, that's just printed onto the, it's meant to look like cinnamon, but it's printed right onto the pieces themselves. Originally, they were just, in the 80s, they were just plain squares. But once the whole swirly cinnamon sugar look in the milk caught on, they added the swirls to the pieces themselves, because people like the idea of the cinnamon sugar swirl. And before we continue, one of our subscribers asked me that we take some time, like one always should when eating cereal, to look at the box art and play around. So let's see what we got. Not great. Maybe next time. Yeah, I think box art is much better when we get boring puzzles and those word cross puzzles. That's what I want to be doing when I eat my breakfast cereal. I don't want a big smiley face. That's disappointing. Okay, so onto the cereal itself. Yep, it has that textbook crunch that makes it Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Flavor is just awesome. I'm someone who loves cinnamon and sugar, so it seems like a great blend, especially because I like having it for breakfast. It's kind of like having cinnamon toast as a breakfast cereal. I think I could do with a little bit more cinnamon, honestly. I think like the sweetness is great, and I love that the powder is so right on the edge of the cereal, so you get, even as soon as you put it in milk, you just get, a huge bite of sweetness each time, even if you eat it straight out of the box. I think a little more cinnamon would be good. I'm curious how the balance of that would work. It almost feels just kind of like evocative of cinnamon sugar. It's hard to tell that real cinnamon is in there, but looking at the ingredients, there's cinnamon, there's sugar, so it's in there. It's just a small amount. I think they could do a little bit more. My only worry would be, does that make the milk too cinnamony? Because the milk is fantastic, and we'll get to that later. But in terms of the cereal itself, they could go harder on the cinnamon for me. But the flavor otherwise is like basically perfect and exactly what I want from a breakfast cereal. I do really love the crunchiness. Even though I've expressed that I'm more of a soggy cereal person, but one of the, double-edged swords of Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the thin pieces. They actually get soggy very quickly. You know, the pieces at the top still have a nice crunch, but the pieces that got the milk first at the bottom are already starting to become soggy. This is probably about the consistency that I really like them to be, but I mean, honestly, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is so good. It's good crunchy, it's good soggy. The only downside to this is you cannot leave a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch sitting. It's going to all get way beyond the point of soggy that anyone likes, you know, within a couple of minutes. So yeah, you kind of got to eat it right away. And if you're someone who likes crunchy cereal over soggy cereal, you're gonna have to scarf it down, or maybe even eat it dry. You know. So yeah, I would say they could do more cinnamon, but other than that, the flavor's great. And yeah, for some people it might get too soggy too quickly, but for me, it's like the perfect amount of sogginess level, like right when you put it in the bowl, which is awesome because I don't have to sit around like I do for a crunchier cereal. Um, so I'm gonna let this sit now, and we can see how soggy it becomes. Um, I'm only gonna let it sit honestly for like a minute because this is like the crunchiest pieces I can find already, and they're pretty soggy. So yeah, let's just sit for 60 seconds, and we'll let the cereal do its thing. And this would be the perfect opportunity to go, you know, play some more of our box art games. But like we said, we didn't get much in that department. But maybe that's why, you know, they know that your cereal is going to be soggy fast, so they're not giving you any puzzles to work with. But yeah, like I mentioned, this is primarily wheat, but also has some rice in the mix of the square. I would bet that if they made it just wheat squares, it would probably hold up in the milk a little bit better because rice is so porous, the milk just soaks right in. But it would almost certainly lose the crunch, and then it would be, you know, then you could call it a different cereal. It would be hard to call it Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Okay, so it's been about a minute here, and you can see everything is settled into the milk, and every piece is very soggy. Yeah, still great for me. The reason, you know, I like soggy cereal, just the texture in general, but the reason I love it at this state so much is there's still just enough crunch to enjoy it, but like the milk is just covered in that cinnamon sugar flavor, and you get all of it when you put it in your mouth. And then also because you let it soak, the milk is just extra sugary at the bottom. But I mean, normally when I do these videos, I want to let the cereal sit for 5 minutes to see how soggy it gets. That you can't do that with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So it's on the high end of sogginess when it comes to cereals. Yeah, so like I said, this is one of the later classics, but for anyone who's had it, it's really not surprising that it became a classic very quickly. It is pretty fantastic. Like I said, probably 9 out of 10, and maybe even on the high end of 9 out of 10. You know, they could make some improvements, but as far as I can tell, it would be improvements to make me like it better. You know, it's hard to objectively improve a cereal like this. And it's certainly popular. It's even we've had tons of spin-off. You know, I'm sure people my age remember French Toast Crunch, which was around for a while, and they've also tried Chocolate Toast Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch Churros, another that I've reviewed on this channel, Chocolate Cinnamon Toast Crunch Churros. So yeah, they've they've gone all out there. It goes by a couple of different names in other countries, but I don't know what those are because I don't super care about those countries. But I do know that Germany got their own spin-off of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which was kind of like an apple cinnamon flavor. Also don't know what that was called, but I'd be pretty curious to try that. I don't imagine it's very possible for me to get. But yeah, one of the best for a reason. We'll take a sip of this milk and see how that is, because like I said, that's one of the high points. I do always like to try the milk at the end of the cereal video because the milk is part of the cereal. But I think Cinnamon Toast Crunch is one of the rare ones where the milk is like one of the main factors of the cereal. Like, it's the treat that you get at the end. So definitely a high mark for me. Yeah, I just really love it. It gets all the cinnamon sugar flavor. Same thing, probably not a ton of cinnamon, but I'm curious how well cinnamon works in milk anyway. It might just be better in a light amount. It might be kind of hard to see now, but I wanted to leave a little bit of milk so you can see that sort of swirling cinnamon sugar effect where the sugar just very easily blends into milk and just becomes liquid. But I think because the cinnamon's a little drier, I don't know how it works, but the cinnamon doesn't want to blend right in, and so it creates kind of a swirling effect. And I mostly like that it's tasty, but people certainly like that, and that's why they added the swirling marks onto the pieces of cereal. Yep. All in all, just fantastic. One of my favorites, and I'd say it is a classic for a reason. So thanks everyone for coming out.